My parents spent $150,000 on my sister's dream wedding. Now they're pressuring me to cut mine down to fund her honeymoon. I refused, and my revenge left everyone speechless. There was a moment, just a flicker, where I thought my wedding might actually be about me. It was the day we booked the Grand Marlowe estate in Nashville. The sun was out. My fiancé, Evan, was holding my hand, and the venue's owner said the date was available. I cried in the parking lot, not because of the price, because for once, it felt like I was being chosen, prioritized, seen. That moment didn't last long. 2 weeks later, my mom called while I was driving home from work. "Sweetie," she said, stretching the word the way she always did when she was about to ruin something, "I've been thinking about the wedding budget. Maybe we went a little overboard on the venue." "It's already booked, Mom. Non-refundable deposit." "Yes, but just hear me out. We were talking, and wouldn't it be wiser to go with something more intimate? Like Sycamore Ridge? It's charming. Rustic. Rustic like the converted barn with string lights and folding chairs?" "Exactly. So cozy." I didn't answer. I already knew what was happening. Before we go further, don't forget to like this story, hit subscribe, and tap the bell so you don't miss what happens next. They were running out of money. Not because they were broke, but because my sister Samantha's wedding the year before had cost $150,000. She had the full Southern royalty fantasy, horse-drawn carriage, 9-tier cake, custom wedding gown flown in from New York, a live orchestra, and a reception that looked like a scene from a Netflix period drama. And now? Now they wanted me to scale down my day because they hadn't thought to plan for 2 daughters. Let me be clear, Samantha is not evil. She's just adored. The golden child. The default center of gravity in every family conversation. She doesn't even notice the way people orbit around her, and when she walks into a room, all the air shifts to accommodate her. I used to think I was imagining it, until my cousin Grace whispered at Samantha's rehearsal dinner, "They're never gonna clap for you like this, are they?" It wasn't mean. It was just true. I tried to be mature, tried to compromise. I suggested trimming the guest list, picking a less expensive caterer, scaling down the flowers. But every time I gave a little, my parents pushed a little more. Then came the bombshell. A week later, we were at Sunday dinner at my parents' house. Roast chicken, cornbread, the usual. Samantha was glowing, her new husband Brandon showing everyone photos from their Napa wine tasting trip. I tried not to roll my eyes. Then, over dessert, my mom said it. "Oh." And Brandon's mom offered to help with the Street Bart's honeymoon. "But there's still the airfare and villa. We were thinking, Lauren, since your venue's so pricey, maybe you wouldn't mind delaying your honeymoon for a bit." The room went quiet. Even Brandon looked uncomfortable. "Wait," I said. "You want me to cut my wedding and my honeymoon so Samantha can go to St. Bart's?" My dad chimed in, trying to play it off. "Well, she's already married, Lauren. It just makes sense to help them enjoy it now. With my money? It's all family money." I laughed. Sharp. Small. Funny. Didn't feel like family money when Samantha got a $6,000 cake. Samantha tried to defuse it. "Lauren, don't make this weird." "Weird? You're literally asking me to give up my honeymoon so you can sip cocktails on a private beach. You'll have your moment too." And there it was. The sentence. The one that broke me. You'll have your moment too. Like my life was a consolation prize. Like I was standing in line at the DMV, waiting to be important. I left the table. Walked out. Didn't cry in the car. Didn't scream. I just sat there, in the driveway, and made a decision. This wasn't going to be their wedding anymore. It was going to be mine. And if they wanted to act like guests instead of hosts, fine. They could sit on the outside of the pictures for once. I didn't mean to overhear it. I wasn't snooping. I wasn't creeping around looking for dirt. I was just dropping off the custom invitation proofs at my parents' house. I had them printed on soft ivory cardstock with gold foil embossing, classic, elegant, exactly what my mother used to swoon over. But when I walked in through the garage, the side door was open, and I heard her voice. My mother. Standing in the kitchen, talking low, like the kind of quiet that's practiced, not accidental. The kind that knows how loud guilt sounds when it echoes. Yes, but she doesn't need the full honeymoon package. She hasn't even booked flights yet. "We can cover yours now, then explain it to Lauren later." Pause. She won't say no. She's just dramatic. Always has been. Then Samantha's voice. Lighter. Amused. "I know. She's being kind of bratty about it. But she's always been jealous." Jealous. That word sat heavy in my throat. I didn't move. I stood there, halfway between the laundry room and the kitchen, hands still holding the envelope of invitations I'd spent 2 weeks designing. "You really think she's going to be okay with a backyard ceremony?" my mom asked. "Well, if she's smart, she'll take the deal." Better than pushing everyone away like she always does. We'll frame it as romantic, intimate, rustic chic. That's a thing now, right? They both laughed. Laughed like I was a joke in their mouths. I backed out quietly and drove straight home. Didn't say a word. Didn't text. Didn't call. I just poured a glass of wine and sat in my apartment with the invitation still in my lap. I'd spend hours choosing the perfect font. They'd spent minutes plotting how to make my wedding palatable to Samantha's bank account. That night, I opened a blank document, typed out every vendor, every detail, every financial contribution, what I'd paid for, what they'd promised, what they tried to take. And then I made a second list. People, not guests, allies, friends, family members who'd whispered to me over the years, "I don't know how you put up with it." They really do act like you're the extra piece. You deserved more credit than you got. They were the ones who were going to get invitations. The rest? I was done performing for them. The next day, I canceled my contract with Chandler and Company. Events. The high-end caterer my mom had picked, the one she said would make us look like we belong in Southern Weddings magazine. Gone. I called Elise Vaughn, a local planner I'd worked with once on a friend's elopement. Simple, precise, fiercely independent. "I need help salvaging a wedding," I told her. "Yours." "Yes, but not just the logistics." "Ah," she said. "Family. The worst kind." She didn't flinch. "When's the date?" 6 months. "Then we've got time. But only if you're ready to burn the script." I wrote a new one last night. We moved fast. The Grand Marlowe estate was non-refundable, but I didn't care anymore. I shifted everything to Sycamore Ridge Vineyards, the venue they originally mocked, quiet, beautiful, and fully mine. Guest list, cut from 180 to 45. New rule: if you didn't believe I deserved the spotlight, you weren't getting a seat at the table. My parents? Still on the maybe list. Samantha? Removed entirely. 3 days later, my mom called. She must have noticed the vendor cancellations on the family credit card. "Lauren, what is going on? Why did Elise Vaughn charge you for a design retainer?" "I hired a new planner." "Why?" "Because I'm planning a new wedding." "You can't just—" "Actually, I can. And I already did." Silence. "You're being rash." "No. I was being quiet. And you thought that meant compliant." "This isn't how family works." "No. This isn't how your family works." Then I hung up. That night, I got an email from Samantha. The subject line: "Hey, inside. I'm sorry if you heard something out of context. Mom and I weren't trying to hurt you. We just thought maybe you'd appreciate something smaller more you. No hard feelings, right? Love you." I didn't respond. Because there was nothing out of context about betrayal. You either believe someone's worthy of their moment, or you don't. And they'd made it clear, my moment was negotiable. I finalized the new guest list with Elise the next morning. We printed new invitations. Same gold foil. Same ivory cardstock. New location. New headline. New message. And as I sealed each envelope, I felt something I hadn't felt in months. Not peace. Not joy. Power. The kind that comes from stepping off the stage they built for you and building your own. I mailed the new invitations on a Thursday. I watched them slide through the metal slot at the post office one by one, like tiny white missiles. Each envelope, a declaration: "This is my wedding now." Not a group project. Not a committee-approved performance for my sister's social media followers. Not a compromise wrapped in rustic decor. Mine. On Saturday, the text started. The first came from my dad. "Hey, sweetheart. We got the new invite, but no RSVP card." Then another. "I'm assuming we're still walking you down the aisle?" Then my mother, less subtle. "Your father is very upset. He was looking forward to giving a toast. We already started writing it." I didn't respond. They weren't really questions. They were alarms, set to test how far I'd let this go. Then Samantha texted. Just one word. "Seriously." That night, Elise and I met to go over the timeline. "You sure you want to do this without them?" she asked. I nodded. There's no version of this where they don't try to hijack it again. I'm done pretending they're doing any of this for me. Then let's make it airtight. She flipped her laptop around and showed me the final seating chart. My parents? Moved to the back. Samantha? Not listed. Elise had even written a private vendor note. If they show up uninvited, notify Lauren's point of contact and security. Security. It sounded dramatic. But for the first time in my life, I had someone standing between me and my family's control. And it felt safe. The next morning, my mom called 6 times before noon. Then she switched tactics. She sent me an email titled, "Just Breathe." Inside was a long, winding letter about how weddings are stressful and people say things they don't mean. And, "You're still our daughter, and we just want to see you happy." Followed by, "It breaks our hearts that you're pushing us away." And the dagger, it's not too late to do the right thing. The right thing. I stared at those words longer than I cared to admit. Because I know what they meant by right. Right was putting Samantha back on the pedestal. Right was pretending nothing happened. Right was being grateful for leftovers. Instead, I opened a new email draft and typed this. I love you both. But this wedding is not about your guilt or your expectations. You spent everything on Samantha, and when I asked for my piece of the spotlight, you tried to turn it into a transaction. I'm done playing the role of the understanding daughter who never complains. I'm not uninviting you, but I am inviting you as guests. No speeches, no VIP seating, no rewrites. I deserve one day that isn't about how much I've learned to settle. I didn't send it. Not yet. Instead, I printed it, folded it, and tucked it into the same keepsake box where I'd stored my original wedding contract. Because someday, I might need to remind myself what it cost to claim this boundary. Then the calls came. From extended family. Aunt Denise. Cousin Mark. Even Uncle Leonard, who hadn't spoken to me since I was 13. You know your mom is hurting, right? Don't throw away your family over a party. It's just one day. Yes, it is just one day. And for once, that day is mine. I started pre-recording my wedding vows. Not for the ceremony. For myself. To hear my voice say the things I never got to say out loud. Not just to Evan, but to me. Because I realized something as I read the words. This wasn't just about Samantha's honeymoon or my parents' double standards. It was about all the birthdays I spent watching them hype her up while forgetting mine. All the recitals they missed. All the applause I clapped with, never expecting it to echo back. One afternoon, Elise called. You still good on cutting the parent speeches? Yes. You sure? They already had their moment. Then she told me something I didn't expect. By the way, your cousin Grace called. She said she wants to help with your floral setup. Said she's proud of you. I hadn't spoken to Grace in 2 years, but she always saw the cracks no one else admitted were there. That night, I sat with my guest list one last time. Crossed off 3 more names. People who'd texted but not asked what I wanted. Only what my parents were feeling. I replaced them with co-workers who'd cheered me through every breakdown. People who didn't need blood to love me right. 1 week to go. The final RSVPs were in. My parents' reply? No response. Samantha's? She posted a photo with the caption, some people need to learn how to be grateful. No tags. But she didn't have to. Everyone knew who she meant. And I didn't flinch. Because while she was posting captions, I was building a day she wasn't invited to. I thought the backlash would be quiet. Some grumbling. Maybe a cold shoulder or 2 at Thanksgiving. What I didn't expect was a group chat ambush from hell. It started with a ping on Tuesday afternoon. A new group message titled, Family Wedding Coordination Wedding I Didn't Create It. My cousin Madison did. Inside were 12 people, mostly extended family, a few old family friends, and of course, my parents and Samantha. The first message? From my mother. Hi everyone. As you all know, Lauren's big day is coming up, and we want to make sure no one feels left out. I didn't reply. Then she added, please keep this space positive. Some people weren't included in the final RSVP list, but we're all family at the end of the day. Cue the passive-aggressive chorus. Aunt Donna, sad to hear about the exclusions. We were all there for Samantha's day. Uncle Jerry, guess some people forget who changed their diapers. Then Samantha dropped her little bomb. I just hope Lauren knows this day won't feel as special if it's built on bitterness. But hey, what do I know about weddings? Like clockwork, cousin Emily posted a throwback photo of me and Samantha in matching flower girl dresses. Crazy how far we've come. Sad it's ending like this. I didn't answer. Instead, I quietly left the chat. 5 minutes later, I got a direct message from Samantha. Wow. Mature. So I sent her a photo of my new wedding sign. Welcome to the Mitchell and Calloway wedding, intimate. Honest. Drama-free. Underneath in small print. By invitation only. That night, I called Elise. I want to add something to the ceremony. Say the word. An open letter. One I'll read before the vows. She paused. You sure? I won't name names. But people need to know this wedding didn't happen in a vacuum. Over the next 3 days, the guilt campaign reached peak manipulation. A voicemail from my dad. This is your mother's dream, Lauren. She's not okay. We were wrong, maybe. But to cut us out like this. A handwritten letter arrived 2 days later. From my mom. Folded into a pink envelope with pressed flower petals. Families stumble. But daughters don't turn their backs. You're punishing us for loving you imperfectly. She ended with, it's not too late to make it right. Just say the word. I didn't. Because I already had. They just didn't like the answer. 2 nights before the wedding, I went back through all the emails, the voicemails, the screenshots from that group chat. I opened a blank doc. Typed, This is not a story of revenge. It's a story of reclamation. Then I wrote the rest in one sitting. A letter. Not angry. Not cruel. Just honest. Wedding day, the sky was perfect. Not too blue. Not too hot. Sycamore Ridge vineyards looked like something from a film. Wooden trellises covered in wisteria. Chairs arranged under the oak trees. A soft string quartet warming up in the distance. Elise handed me the mic as the guests settled in. Evan squeezed my hand. Then I stood and read. To everyone here, thank you. Not just for coming, but for showing me what real support looks like. Growing up, I was told to be grateful for any spotlight I was allowed to borrow. But today, I don't want to borrow. I want to own this moment, without compromise, without needing to shrink myself to make room for others who never once stepped aside. If you are here, it means you've seen me, the real me, and you chose to stay. And that choice? That's love. No names. No callouts. But everyone knew. Especially the two empty chairs near the back. Labeled, reserved for reflection. After the ceremony, I got a message from my cousin Grace. They're freaking out. Your mom posted some weird vague quote on Facebook and Samantha's been silent all day. You broke the hive mind. I smiled. Elise handed me champagne. You okay? Better than I've ever been. We danced until midnight. The food was incredible. The photos were honest. And I never once looked over my shoulder. Because for the first time in my life, there was nothing behind me I wanted to return to. Samantha's wedding had been grand. The kind of grand that gets featured in bridal magazines with headlines like A Southern Affair to Remember. Her Instagram had over 1,000 likes per photo. Every vendor was tagged. Every detail was praised. Mine? Smaller. Real. But you could feel the difference in the air. The kind of joy that isn't rehearsed. And after my ceremony, while I was eating wood-fired pizza in a linen jumpsuit and sipping champagne with real friends, Samantha was already on a flight to St. Bart's. First class. Courtesy of our parents' reallocated funds. At first, I tried to ignore it. I really did. The photos started trickling in. White sand, crystal blue water, champagne breakfasts. The captions? Reward yourself. You deserve everything. Sunshine heals all things. Peace over people. They weren't subtle. And they weren't meant to be. But what Samantha didn't realize is that her perfect honeymoon was already cracking. Because while she was living her beachfront fantasy, I made a call. Not to her. Not to my parents. But to Margaret White, Brandon's mother. A woman who had whispered to me once at Samantha's bridal shower, if I had known what kind of girl she really was, I might have paid for him to elope. At the time, I thought it was just stress. But now? Now I realized she'd been watching Samantha the same way I had. So I called her. I'm not trying to start something, I said. Then why are you calling? Because I think your son deserves to know what he married into. And what was taken from my parents to fund your daughter-in-law's dream life. Margaret was quiet. Then she said, You're not the first person to tell me that. But you might be the first one with proof. I forwarded her the texts. The canceled contracts. The group chat screenshots. And my mother's voice memo, where she said, We'll just use some of Lauren's budget. She's not as particular. Margaret didn't respond right away. But 3 hours later, I got a reply. Noted. Enjoy your peace. That was a Wednesday. By Friday, Samantha's Instagram was silent. No new photos. No new captions. Just a story that disappeared after 4 hours, a black screen with a single quote. Some people just can't be happy for others. I knew that tone. It wasn't confidence. It was cracking. The next day, Brandon posted a solo picture from a beach bar. Time to reset. Alone. No mention of Samantha. No tag. No ring on his finger. I waited. Didn't reach out. Didn't dig. But Grace called me Sunday morning, voice practically shaking. Lauren. She's back. Early. What? Samantha flew home 2 days early. Alone. There's no welcome home post. No brunch photos. Nothing. What happened? Rumor is. Brandon found out about the money. That night, I got a text from my dad. No apology. No explanation. Just, you happy now? I didn't respond. Because happiness isn't the right word. Free is. 2 days later, I got an email. From Samantha. Subject, seriously. I don't know what you said to Margaret, but congrats. You've officially made this about you. Again, if this is what you needed to feel important, I hope it was worth it. I sat with that for a while. Then wrote back, no. I felt important the day I stopped needing your approval to breathe. Then I blocked her. Everywhere. A week passed. Then Margaret sent me flowers. No note. Just a card with a quote handwritten in tight cursive, blood is an accident. Character is a choice. The silence that followed was beautiful. No group chats. No guilt bombs. No manipulation disguised as motherly concern. Just me, Evan, and the small circle of people who had stood beside me when it wasn't convenient. One afternoon, I took a walk with Elise. She asked, "Did you ever want to fix it?" "Fix what?" "The family thing." "With them." I thought about it. For a long time. I wanted them to realize I wasn't asking for everything. Just something that was mine. She nodded. "And now I don't need them to get it. I just need them to get out of the way." The thing about silence is that, at first, it feels unnatural. Like you're waiting for the punchline or the comeback that never arrives. After weeks of chaos, guilt bombs, and emotional landmines, the quiet that came after Samantha's honeymoon implosion wasn't soothing. It was suspicious. But eventually, it stopped being eerie and started being freeing. I returned from a short trip with Evan, nothing glamorous, just a rented cabin 2 hours outside of Asheville. No hashtags, no filtered photos. Just us, real life, real air, real peace. When we got home, there was a letter waiting in the mailbox. Handwritten, thick envelope, cream-colored, familiar cursive, from my mother. I set it on the kitchen counter. Didn't touch it for 3 days. When I finally opened it, I didn't brace for manipulation, because I didn't care anymore. Inside was a 4-page letter. Neat. Rambling. A tone that wavered between apology and nostalgia. A few lines stood out. "I didn't realize how loud Samantha was until you left the room. We spent so long trying to keep her together that we didn't see how much we were letting you drift. I don't expect forgiveness, but I hope someday you remember that we were trying, even when we got it terribly wrong." And the last part, you're right. The wedding wasn't ours to control. It was yours to live. You made a life and a moment that was stronger than tradition. I don't know if you'll ever come back, but if you do, the door is open. No demands. No guilt. No, please just call. Just surrender. I folded the letter once, slid it into a drawer. Didn't cry. Didn't shake. Didn't feel anything except stillness. Because closure doesn't always feel dramatic. Sometimes, it's just a clean stop. Samantha, as far as I know, never responded to anything. Brandon moved out a month after the honeymoon. Their Instagram pages went dark. I heard she went back to live with our parents for a while, then moved in with a friend. I didn't ask for details, because I wasn't in that story anymore. I started writing again. Small things. Essays. Reflections. One piece, titled "The Cost of Being the Quiet Daughter," went viral on a wedding blog. Thousands of comments. One woman wrote, "Thank you for showing me I'm not crazy." Another, "I didn't walk away from my wedding, but I wish I'd walked away from who I had to be to make it happen." I printed those messages out, taped them to the wall of my writing nook. Reminders that telling the truth, even quietly, matters. A few months later, Elise called. "You won't believe this. A client came in asking for a Lauren-style wedding. She didn't mean decor. She meant backbone." I laughed. "Tell her I highly recommend cutting the guest list by 50%. Already did. And the venue? Sycamore Ridge called me in June. Said they were thinking about featuring my wedding in their promotional video. Said they'd never seen a wedding where the guests actually looked like they wanted to be there. I said yes. Because finally, I wanted to be there, too. I never blocked my parents. Never erased them. But I didn't reopen the door either. I sent a single thank you card on Christmas. Simple. No update. No invitation. No warmth I didn't mean. Just this. I hope you're well. I'm doing fine. Thank you for your letter. The past is where it belongs. So am I. Samantha? She's a ghost now. Not the scary kind. The kind you don't see until someone else asks about her. Then you remember, oh right, she used to take up all the space. Now, there's room. For friends who show up. For a husband who doesn't expect me to shrink. For the version of myself I never got to be until I stopped waiting for applause. This wasn't just a wedding. It was a line drawn in gold foil stationery. A moment that shattered a script written by guilt. A celebration that burned down a dynasty. And from the ashes, I didn't rise like a phoenix. I just walked forward and never looked back. If this story touched you, share it with someone who needs to hear it too.